The losers have quit and gone home. Now, I knock all the time beginners, part-timers, and losers. I'm sorry, I offend a lot of people. I have some beginners in Remax. They say that's unfair. I said, well, the truth of the matter is, maybe you're the exception. 9 out of 10 beginners never make it in this business. This is a hard business. In this market, it's harder than anything we've ever seen before. And so if you're going to be in the battle of your life, it isn't enough just to survive the battle. The whole concept is, how do you win? How do you do more than survive? How do you get back to the cash flow you had 5 years ago? And it can be done. Tougher job than it's ever been. You got to work smarter. You got to work harder, but it can be done. I'm going to tell you how in a few minutes. But here's the point. Use every competitive advantage you can use. There's a thought process out there of some superstars that is being pushed by somebody like Keller, who says the brand name is of no value. It's all about you. The only person who says brand name doesn't matter is the company that does not have a brand name, and I will prove it to you over the next half hour to an hour. The whole concept is, when you go into a listing presentation, when you go in to get business, you want to win. Right price, right length of time, right commission rate. Doesn't do you any good just take a listing that's not going to sell in 60 or 90 days. You're wasting your money. Now, we'll show you some things you can use with the J.D. Power, or whatever it might be here in a second. But let's talk, and I'm going to address some of these charts and some of these things from the viewpoint of the seller as we talk today. Now, as you go out and you try to get listings, whether it's REO or whether it is, and I'll show you some stats up here in a minute, you want to get it at the right price, at the right commission rate. Doesn't do you any good to do stuff for free. Doesn't do you any good to cut your commission if you can't afford to pay your bills and do the promotion that you need to do. So I want to talk to you about the philosophy of what I would say to sellers. And the first thing I would say to a seller as you are in the presentation, before you sell yourself, before you sell Remax, is chit-chat, talk, find some mutual grounds. If you're friends, talk a little bit before you get into the business, do the questioning and so on. By the way, there are two presentation styles. There is the flea market approach, where you take all the features and benefits, and like a Navajo Indian in Santa Fe, you sit on the square and you put your blanket out, you sit there cross-legged, and here's all the things you've got to sell. That's called throwing up on people. And the second method, which is much better, is the questioning approach. How long have you had your property on the market? What are you going to do? Have you done any pricing? Have you looked at anything on the internet? Have you looked at any of the competition? What are you selling for? What's the motivation? Are you going to buy something else? It's the questioning approach. And so the biggest mistake to make, if you're a good salesman, is to start selling instead of listening. And the listening process helps a lot. Now, how many people in here have a tablet, a computer, or an iPad? Okay? So, being released in the next 2 weeks is an iPad application that Adam Contos and I primarily designed for listings, recruitings, and franchise sales, and so on. And the prototype is almost finished and will be released to a gathering of about 100 of us on Thursday of next week. It is downloadable through Wi-Fi, through the internet, and it can be updated on a weekly or monthly basis as new statistics and new bar graphs and new things come up. And so the concept very simply is, instead of taking 150 slides in a row and going through them and saying, this is the power of the brand, this is the power of our market share, this is my personal promotion, this is this and this, it's you ask the questions, and if the person says, well, I've seen a lot of Remax advertising out there, and I'm wondering how important that is in the sales process, and the internet's really, really important. I think that a lot of leads come by the internet, don't they? And so you get those questions. You take the iPad, and you say, let me address some of those things for you. And let's talk about the J.D. Power Award and why it's meaningful to a seller. And then you go through and touch screen that goes to J.D. Power only, and you go through those 5 or 6 slides. And then you talk about, and this is how we generate leads. And you touch those screens. And you talk about, well, let me tell you about Me Too, and you touch that screen and it goes to you and your profile and your awards and your history. That's a much better way of doing it. This is coming out, it's free of charge, be on Main Street. You'll be able to download it, customize it to your own ability, probably within the next 30 days or so. And we're going to get the bugs out. We're playing with a version we showed some of the broker owners yesterday. So that's the style. You sit with the seller and you say, now before we begin our presentation, I really want to point something out that's very important to you in getting your property marketed in this kind of a market. You know, in 2005, anybody could have listed the property, probably had 2 full price cash offers on it the first week, and everybody was happy. And you looked at us and said you're overpaid. Everybody was happy. Now it's not that way. The banks have 3 or 4 million properties out there, and they're selling them 50 cents on the dollar or less. The builders are